hostage from everyone else.
We're looking at someone who passed a tax bill benefiting the top 1% and the biggest corporations in this country when he said he would help working families.
Oh my gosh, it's exhausting, isn't it? Now, this is the Democrats' central claim. Donald Trump has broken his promise to help working Americans. He's not a real populist. His policies have only helped the rich. Honestly, these are lies, lies, lies. Here are the facts, the facts, the facts. Between 2016 and 2018, corporate profits rose by $220 billion, while workers' earnings went up by almost $1 trillion, 4 times more. The Democrats also say Trump is just continuing what Obama started, but the facts show this is a complete lie. 2, workers' earnings increased by 42% more during President Trump's first 2 years in office than in Obama's last 2. There was a massive and almost instant jump, a turnaround that has destroyed the left's economic argument because it is a perfect test case of what pro-growth, pro-enterprise economics can do. Yes, it's true that corporate tax cuts and deregulation helped businesses. But who do you think actually creates jobs and pays wages? Helping business is the way you help workers. Let me explain how it works for the economically illiterate Democrats and their idiotic stooges in the establishment state media. Lower taxes and less regulation give businesses the confidence to invest. That means more innovation and higher worker productivity. That means more jobs are created and workers are paid more because they are producing more. On jobs, the latest report showed 164,000 jobs were added, bringing the labor force to almost 163 million, a new all-time record. With President Trump, we've seen the lowest unemployment in 50 years and the lowest on record for African American and Hispanic workers. On workers' pay, the latest data on employee compensation showed that earnings rose 4.5% in 2017 and 5% last year, even higher than previously reported, and way ahead of inflation. But the best news is on low-income workers. President Trump is specifically delivering on the promises he made to the forgotten men and women who in 2016 revolted against an establishment that punished them for decades in the name of elitist dogma like open borders, free trade, and globalization. In the Trump economy, incomes are rising fastest for the lowest paid. Look at this. Hourly pay growth for the bottom 25% has outpaced that of higher earners every month of the Trump presidency. And in blue-collar industries like mining, construction, and transportation, we're seeing wage growth far exceed what we saw under Obama's second term. Plus, with President Trump's revitalization of manufacturing, which all the establishment experts said was impossible, by the way, jobs are coming back in numbers we haven't seen for decades. Last year's gain of 264,000 manufacturing jobs was the highest since 1997. The facts demonstrate conclusively that working Americans are the winners in the Trump economy. Yes, he is the real populist, and it's the Democrats who are fake. They want to reverse the Trump tax cuts and deregulation. That would reverse the Trump job gains and earnings rise. They want to make energy more expensive. Ask President Macron in France what working people think of that. He's still got protests in the streets over green policies that are mild compared to what these Democrats want here. And of course, all of them want a massive expansion in government paid for by you. That's not just a tax grab, it's a power grab as well. That's the deep reason all these Democrats are fake populists. Populism is about power to the people. The left are about taking power away from people and giving it to the government. But there's one more argument that's a complete lie, and we need to demolish that too. This one comes not from the left, but from the never-Trumpers and the Republican establishment. They say, well, Donald Trump may have a good economy, but that's just because of traditional conservative policy. Where he's moved away from Republican orthodoxy, like on trade and China, it's been a disaster. Again, this is total BS. As we keep telling you, tariffs work. They worked on the border with Mexico and are working with China. The way the critics talk, you'd think our entire economy was dependent on China. But remember, in 2018, imports from China were just 2.7% of our economy, and exports to China just 0.9%. Look, there's no doubt that the trade war with China has introduced economic uncertainty, and that is never a good thing. As we saw last week, the Democrats and the establishment state media are hyping up a recession because they think it's the best way to get rid of a president they despise. Here's what newly minted never-Trumper Anthony Scaramucci has been saying to any passing TV camera.
What he's done on the trade situation has totally and completely destabilized the global economy. Forget about the farmers for a second. I'm very sympathetic to them, but it's hurting them. But it's hurting the entire capital market system.
Yeah, forget about the farmers. There you have it. He just gave the game away. Another fake populist. Unbelievably, he actually wrote a book called The Blue Collar President and came on this show to promote it. But now we see which side he's really on. The Wall Street wheeler dealers in the, what did he call it, capital market system, who for decades have screwed the American worker to make themselves rich, especially over China. So it is highly revealing that these elitist globalization ideologues are dumping on Trump just at the moment when his populist trade policies are starting to work. For 50 years, China was moving inexorably towards its stated aim of toppling America as the world's economic and military superpower by 2049, not least by cheating on trade rules and stealing technology. Now, thanks to President Trump, China is reeling. As a direct result of the Trump tariffs, manufacturers are moving supply chains out of China. Manufacturing was the foundation of China's rise, and it's crumbling before our eyes. China's economic growth has slumped to the lowest in nearly 30 years. The establishment critics say that, well, our growth is down too. Yes, the latest number was 2.1%, but that was higher than anyone expected, and just compare it to what's going on elsewhere in the world. EU growth in the same period was less than half as much, 0.8%, and their unemployment rate was 7.5%. They thought that was good. It was down slightly, but it's more than twice as high as ours. The establishment love to regurgitate their tired talking points about consumers paying for the trade war, but they are idiotically short-sighted. They don't take account of the costs to our society and our economy of shipping jobs to China so they can ship cheap products back here. We had a fantastic debate on this on Deep Dive last week. Honestly,